My name is Vitali. How should I address you?
My name is Andre. The city is Sochi.
What city?
Sochi.
Shows me the Kaluga region. Wrong?
Absolutely wrong.
Got it, thank you. I am from the city of Violet Cirkva, Kiev region. What do you want to talk about, Andre?
What do I want to talk about?
I want to chat about history, and what do you want to talk about?
Are you a historian? Well, just so I know, are you at the level?
I have a degree in history and 30 years of experience as a history teacher.
Well, then, how can I talk to you about this topic?
I'm not insisting, Andre. I just asked you. What topics do you usually discuss?
I'd be interested in talking about history, but I can only do so to a certain extent. History of which period?
Any period, as long as you, Andre, have read historical literature besides textbooks and fiction.
I'm interested in some questions that You didn't answer my.
Question: what was the last history book you read besides a textbook or a work of fiction? And then you can go on and tell me something.
I can't really tell you what specifically historical book I've read. I guess historical books, not really, to be honest.
That happens. It's nothing to worry about. Some people just aren't interested in history. What topic would you like to talk about?
Honestly, I don't have a specific topic in mind. There are some questions that bother me. I could ask you if you're interested, and then we'll see.
Go ahead, try. If I can, I'll answer. If I can't, I'll just say so. I can't answer that.
I'm curious. What do you think? How will Ukraine recover after all this is over?
Is that a history question? Wait, Andre.
It's a history question. No, I.
Got it. That's not a history question. It's just something that's on your mind.
Yeah,
I think Ukraine will recover through the combined efforts of European countries, North America, plus reparations from the Russian Federation if it remains as a state. And if it falls apart, then from some part of the former Russian Federation that takes responsibility for starting the war.
and what do you think should make, say, me pay you reparations?
Ukraine's victory over the Russian Federation won't make you pay. It will simply be a decision made about reparations, and whether you want to pay reparations or not, a certain amount will be deducted from your salary, just like it was with Nazi Germany after the collapse of Nazism.
And who will decide that? Tell me. Let's say everything happened today. It all stopped. A joint commission. I'm not interested in what you're saying.
But you asked a question, I answered. If you don't like my answer, well, it's clear that you don't like it for some reason.
I'm not arguing. I'm just interested. Let's say, for example, you mentioned Russia. After World War II,
A special reparations commission was created, which calculated the damages. This is reparations. Most likely, it will be here too.
I understand. Back then, it was the clear end of the war, the victory of the Soviet Union and the Allies. The Nuremberg trials happened. But now, how is this going to happen?
Well, I hope for the same thing, that with the combined efforts of Ukraine's allies, we will win, we will win. Of course. I can't know that for sure. There is hope. Can I ask you a question from my side, Andre?
Please, of course.
What do you think, in your personal opinion, why did Russia attack Ukraine? Or what are the reasons, if there are several?
My personal opinion. I'm talking to you after all. I think someone really needed this. Someone really benefited from it. And everything led up to it.
Got it, thank you.
The first, in my opinion, the first sign, the first bird that flew into the garden, is when, out of the blue, Mr. Yushchenko decided in his head that Bandera was a hero to him. And he offended millions of people. Well, for example, that's my opinion.
That's exactly why.
When Yushchenko, he, as the head of Ukraine, knowing in advance that this would lead to some kind of confrontation with the neighbor, he knew it for sure. His goal is unclear to me.
So, did I understand you correctly that when Yushchenko, either in 2009 or 2010, no, maybe in 2009, or even in 2004, this can be checked. The exact date doesn't really matter. Let's say in 2010, just to be closer to recent events. If in 2010 he gave Bandera the title of Hero of Ukraine that provoked Russia's aggression against Ukraine in 2014. So the 4-year gap doesn't bother you? If you asked for my opinion, I'm telling you, I believe that the person is the president.
He just needs to use his head and think about what he's doing. He definitely had some kind of goal. It's just that simple. I lived in Ukraine for a very long time. And you know, we Ukrainians never in our lives thought about Bandera. We were developing, living peacefully, everything was fine. And suddenly, a person, the president of a huge country, decided that now Bandera would be honored? A hero? Well, let him be. I don't mind. But he should have understood that this would happen. Some kind of offense to another neighbor. And something would have to be done about it. Well, that's what I think. It was wrong.
What do you think, for example, when the Poles consider Pilsudski their hero?
I don't know about him, sorry.
What? You don't know who Pilsudski is? I won't. I'll try again. To return to your opinion. I have nothing against your opinion, absolutely. Everyone has the right to their own opinion. If, again, Yushchenko in 2010 gave Bandera the title of Hero of Ukraine, then that's actually one of the reasons why Russia attacked Ukraine in 2014 and occupied Crimea. Let me ask again, doesn't the 4-year gap bother you?
You see, well, again, I can only speak for myself what I think. I could be wrong. Then, you see, this is actually the main first step, a small one, carefully thought out by certain people who put it into his head. They drilled it in. But I know what I'm talking about.
I understand, but I'd like to ask you to connect those 4 years. Doesn't the gap bother you at all?
Yeah. I'm just saying, after that, gradually, well, he named it and that's it, fine. Especially since the court. Then,
a few months overturned that decision. Did you know about that?
No, it was Yanukovych who overturned the decision.
The court overturned the decision, not Yanukovych. But even if Yanukovych overturned that decision, I'm not against it. So, for years passed, and suddenly the Russians remembered. Oh, 4 years ago Yushchenko gave Bandera the hero title. Let's attack Ukraine and take Crimea. It just doesn't add up.
You want it to be that simple, for things to have developed that way?
No, it wasn't that particular event or circumstance that set things in motion. In fact, there was an entirely different and distinct trigger, a separate initiating factor that ultimately led to the current situation or outcome. This other trigger played a crucial role in the sequence of events.
Reason different.
What was it in 2014?
Well, look, if you live, doesn't matter where. You live in Kiev, right? In the Kiev region. Doesn't matter. Someone lives in Donetsk, someone in Crimea. We're all the same Ukrainians, right?
No, we're different Ukrainians. Very different. We are Ukrainians because
That's right.
100% according to the Constitution, the rights of citizens are the same.
Can it be that someone's opinion is more important than someone else's, right?
What do you mean, more important opinion? There can be one opinion or another, different opinions.
So, you've already asked for my personal opinion. Yes, of course. I think that when, in 2014, what came to power, no matter how it happened, some people disagreed with it, and some agreed. Why is someone considered above? Why am I considered above? And someone else below? Why then is the right? I don't.
Understand what you mean. For
Example, a certain region. No, without an example. Basically, this year.
so, some regions of Ukraine did not agree with the revolution on Maidan. Well, for
Example, you call it a revolution, I call it a military coup.
All right.
okay, I get it. Some people didn't agree with the military coup.
Well, so what? Donetsk too, Luhansk too.
Donetsk and Luhansk didn't agree, and
Almost everyone called them coups.
Donetsk and Luhansk didn't agree with the military coup in Ukraine, right? So these are people who are patriots of Ukraine, but they don't like the military coup, right?
That's the case. How?
Do you think, under which flag should the patriots of Ukraine in Donetsk and Luhansk have come out? If they are patriots of Ukraine, but disagree with the military coup? With Ukrainian flags, saying, we don't agree with the military coup. We are Ukrainians and citizens of Ukraine. We don't want this government. Or should they have come out with Russian flags and said, Russia, come save us? What should have happened if? Of course, people in Luhansk were also patriots of Ukraine and just wanted a change of government. They didn't trust this coup. Which flag should they have come out with?
Everyone acts according to their upbringing and education. If someone came out with an American flag, that was their personal, some kind of initiative, their own idea. I just think it was really wrong when Turchinov launched the ADO. Excuse me, hold on.
You switched to talking about Turchinov. I'm still on the question about the flag. I'm not asking this question for nothing. There are plenty of protest videos. Well, let me just finish then. Look, there are plenty of videos where people in Donetsk and Luhansk come out not under Ukrainian flags and not under American ones. But for some reason, they come out under Russian flags and say that we are for. They don't say they're for Ukraine, but they're against the coup. People just come out and start shouting, Putin, come. Putin, save us. Putin, send in the troops. Let me finish my sentence, Andre. May I? I didn't interrupt you. I listened to everything, and there was, if these were patriots who just against the coup, but for Ukraine, they would have come out exactly as I described, with Ukrainian flags, maybe with Party of Regions flags, since they support Yanukovych. But people didn't come out with Ukrainian flags, nor with Party of Regions flags. They came out specifically with Russian flags and with demands to bring Russian troops onto Ukrainian territory. From the perspective of any regime that came to power in Ukraine, legitimate or illegitimate, in your opinion, this regime would view these people as separatists. And after Russian troops appeared there, and these people started cooperating with the Russian troops, they would be seen as collaborators. It was precisely against them that it was declared. Andre, let me finish my sentence. Please don't interrupt me. I listened to everything you wanted to say. So, in my opinion, your point of view is incorrect, but I'm not insisting on my own perspective. I just want to remind you that the events didn't start in the spring. It was in 2014 in Donetsk and Luhansk. But in February 2014, when Russian troops seized Crimea, and for some reason you keep shifting the focus to Donetsk and Luhansk. So, I'll return to the question again and ask the same one. Why aren't Russian troops in Donetsk or Luhansk? No. Why did Russian troops seize Crimea in February 2014? I'm listening, Andre. Try to answer my question, not the one in your own head.
If you're talking about Crimea, then I, for example, think that it's probably strategically important for the Russian Federation. Besides, well, I believe that Russian lands were simply in favor of Ukraine as a brotherly nation. Probably the people who live in Ukraine. So the brotherhood ended in
2014, or was it the term of the transfer that expired? Did Russians attack the Kremlin, Andre? What do you
think? You know, the thing is, as soon as people came to power who, let's say, didn't suit, for example, their Russia? I don't know, for example, Yeah, let it be that way in Russia, realizing that tomorrow or the day after, NATO troops would be stationed in Crimea. Roughly speaking, there would be no Black Sea Fleet, and that's tragically important for Russia. And Russia couldn't allow that to happen.
So, if, for example, this is just a hypothetical, in my opinion, if, for example, the Ukrainian leadership decides that there's some idea floating around, an idea in Russia, to hand over Novorossiysk to Turkish troops as a base for the Turkish fleet, then Ukraine would have every right to attack Russia and prevent it. Regarding the construction of a Turkish military base in Novorossiysk, do you think that's acceptable? Purely theoretically. I understand that this won't happen, but purely theoretically.
No, but we haven't finished discussing what happened next.
No, we still haven't figured out. Andre, let me interrupt you, sorry. We still haven't figured out what actually happened in Crimea. That's why Russian troops invaded Crimea. On January 20th, let me remind you of the dates. You have.
Go ahead.
Let me finish my sentence, Andre. Excuse me. On February 20th, you have a medal from the Ministry of Defense called for the return of Crimea. It has the date February 20th, 2014, marking the start of a military operation. On February 20th, 2014, Yanukovych was still the president of Ukraine. He hadn't even signed the agreement with the opposition as of February 20th. So why, when Yanukovych was still in power and hadn't signed the agreement, were Russian troops already starting to seize and take control of Ukrainian military units in Crimea? If you could, please answer this question.
You have to understand, I'm not a politician or a military expert. I've given you the dates, you see?
You've given the dates, key dates.
Here's my opinion. First of all, there was no need to bring anyone in there. Russian troops. There were always Russian troops there.
I'm not asking whether it was necessary or not. I'm asking why Crimea was seized? Yes. What?
What do you mean by seizure? Please explain to me. What does seizure mean exactly? By force of arms, with bloodshed. Yes, not.
Not necessarily with blood and murder. Look, Andre, there is international law. It's called UN Resolution 3314. And Article 3 clearly defines what occupation is. The word seizure is more of a figurative term. It doesn't correspond to international law. There are the concepts of occupation and aggression. It's not about occupation there. It's about the definition of aggression, and aggression is when the troops of one country violate the sovereignty of another country, cross the border, and take control of the territory or part of the territory of another state. Right now, Andre, we can just, let me finish. We can look up the definition. So, Russian troops, for the agreement between Ukraine and Russia, were not spread thinly across Crimea, but stationed in specific cities and towns. The Black Sea Fleet was in Sevastopol, but never a single Russian soldier in Simferopol, because for the agreement that wasn't allowed. For example, the village of Gvardisk near Simferopol has an airfield. That airfield was leased by Russians per agreement. On the night of February 26th to 27th, Russian troops in Simferopol, not Sevastopol, seized the parliament and cabinet of ministers of the Autonomous Republic of Crimea. In doing so, they crossed into Ukraine. And this crossing of Ukraine's border is called aggression. Why did they cross the border? Why Russian troops? On the night of February 26th to 27th, Crimean Parliament building seized Sevastopol. Aggression. Russian troops not in Simferopol.
Russian troops. You understand. You just use it too much. I don't.
I dispose of it and do not bottle it. I'm giving you the facts.
There were no Russian troops in Simferopol. You
are lying. Andre, you are lying. The video of the seizure of the Crimean Parliament was filmed by a video camera installed on the building. This is publicly available on the internet. Moreover, Russian documentarians in the documentary Crimea, The Way Home, where they even interview Putin, use this footage. Where Russian special forces seize the Crimean Parliament, lower the Ukrainian flag, and raise the Russian flag. This is a clear act of aggression. Do you understand? No. That's why you're lying.
You understand correctly. I get it. You have an agenda. Not to let me say what I think. You're just the only one talking. No, I didn't interrupt you, Andre. And when I
interrupted, I apologize to you. Now, please, say whatever you want. But when you lie, I will clearly say you're lying, Andre. Plain and simple. Go ahead. I'm listening. How did Russian special forces end up in Simferopol? It's a simple question. They had never been there before. I'm not lying. Please open it. I can show you this video if you want.
Here, right?
Yes.
You know, social media, those videos on social media, that's the opinion of a very small, you understand, a minimal number of people, which your filmmakers used. They can also record and create falsehoods. I don't want to believe that.
So, the documentary film by Russian filmmakers, Crimea, The Way Home, where Russian filmmakers show this video. Is that a lie? Got it. No problem. Is there anything else you want to say, Andre? I'm listening.
I believe that in Crimea, there was only one thing. The right decision was made through the referendum. That's all. That's my opinion. That's what the people decided.
The referendum was on March 16th. Before the referendum, if we have time, we'll get to that as well. But what happened from February 20th to 26th when Russian troops? I am not.
As prepared a person as you are.
Well, if you're not prepared, you could just say, Andre, I'm not familiar with this issue. I'm not prepared. I don't know. And my opinion, probably, most likely, would be wrong. Why do you start expressing your opinion when you don't have a single fact in your arsenal? Well, how should I take that?
Why do I need specific facts?
You don't need them. The ones that suit you.
That suit me. I am fine with it.
Any facts, as long as they exist.
You know what kind of fact is important to me? For example, for me, the important fact is that European civilized countries are democratic countries. The West, democratic countries. And they simply showed it. They showed Russians in Crimea how things can be done. Right now, I'm giving the example of Kosovo. When Kosovo separated from Belgrade, to broadcast to the whole world that this is illegal and a violation of all norms.
The British sent in planes and bombed Belgrade and said a referendum doesn't need to be legal. It's the will of the people. Yes. That fits very well.
And Russia had every right to do the same. Why? Because it wasn't just America that violated the rules, as you said. And the important thing is that civilized European countries accepted this. That's important. And then Russia saw that the International Court at the UN also accepted it and said, yes, that's correct. And since we are acting according to the International Court, we said, guys, that means we have the right to do the same. They told us.
Yes. Let me make it simpler for you. I'll give you a situation. You're driving your car, and you see an accident nearby. Someone broke the traffic rules. And, accordingly, a thought pops into your head. Look, someone broke the traffic rules. He got into an accident. Well, that's nothing. Now I'm going to break the traffic rules myself. I won't get into an accident because, well, he broke the rules and nothing bad happened. So I'll break the traffic rules too and pull out into the oncoming lane. Let me finish the sentence. And I'll pull out into the oncoming lane. Doesn't that seem like foolish reasoning to you? Someone broke the traffic rules. He's a scoundrel, a rascal. He suffered the consequences. I should continue to follow the traffic rules, because that's how you avoid getting into trouble, avoid getting into an accident. But your logic says that someone broke the traffic rules and got into an accident, but I won't break them. But I will break the rules, but I won't get into an accident. What do you think? That doesn't fit.
According to your logic, we should just stand up and say, disband the treacherous company at the International Court of Justice at the UN. Yes.
Absolutely. You are a member of the UN Security Council, I mean Russia. You should be restoring international law by all means, not violating it, not breaking it.
If this is recognized by the International Court and all European countries together with the West, then we understand that this is the truth.
Andre, please, I understand. I got it. Please, if possible, If you have the opportunity, can you open and find this decision of the International Court right now that the International Court has recognized something? Can you? No,
Well, I'm not going to do that.
there's no such possibility. And I don't want to argue with you. It's just that Russians lie very often. And so I would.
We're exchanging opinions. The thing is,
No, an opinion can only be based on fact, Andre. For example, I don't trust the fact that the International Court made some kind of decision. I really doubt this fact.
I think anyone, even someone watching you, can just look it up on the internet and find out that it's true, because it is true.
It's true. Got it. I'll look it up.
I checked.
Okay. And even if the International Court decided this, Russia, as a member of the Security Council, should have said that this is wrong, that it's a violation of international law. The Americans shouldn't have done this, and we won't do anything like that either. Absolutely not. After all, unlike the pseudo-democrats and liberals in the West, we are truly a democratic country that upholds international law. So why did Russia, Andre, let me finish my question, why did Russia, Andre, behave like an ordinary thug who doesn't recognize any decisions and acts on the principle? If someone attacked and took someone else's territory, then I can attack and take someone else's territory too. Is that right?
Can I answer?
Yes, of course.
Can I answer?
Yes, I won't interrupt.
The thing is, as you said, that Russia acted the same way. Someone violated something, Russia did the same, all of that. The point is, Russia actually respected international law because Russia let people hold a referendum, while in Kosovo there wasn't even one. You see, we took the democratic route. We said, people, choose what you want.
Got it.
That's what democracy is.
I understand.
And in Kosovo, there wasn't even that. There, it was just recognition of everything.
All right, that's great. Now, please tell me, I promised you that we would come back to the question of the referendum. A referendum, Andre, is a procedure under the internal legislation of each country. Tell me, please, Andre, the referendum in Crimea on March 16th, was it held according to the law of the Russian Federation, according to the law of Ukraine, or did the Supreme Council of the Autonomous Republic of Crimea adopt its own law on the referendum? According to which law?
I'm just expressing my personal opinion. I honestly don't care what law it was under. The main thing is that there was a referendum, and it was the people who made the decision. That's it. It wasn't the authorities who decided. People came out and voted.
So if I go out onto my street in my city right now and say, guys, I'm the people, I'm part of the people, I don't care about the laws that apply to my street, my city, my region. People, here are some ballot boxes. So let's, I've decided that our building needs to be painted red. And some people come out and say, yeah, actually, we like the color red. We take these ballot boxes. Well, we just took the trash bins people throw garbage into on the street. We grabbed some scraps of paper and tossed them into these bins. We are the people. We don't care about the laws that apply in this area. The main thing is, we're the people, we came out and voted. Your logic basically fits with what I just said.
No, well, I still think my logic fits into something else. You know what?
Into what?
Let me tell you. Well, we can argue about this as much as we want.
We're not arguing. I'm just trying to understand your logic. So you mainly don't need any laws?
The logic is simple, you see?
Yeah.
Simple logic, you see?
I didn't get any of that. I understand Ukrainian, and I realize those are Shevchenko's words. What does that have to do with the fact that you don't recognize not just international law, but even your own domestic law.
On the contrary, we do recognize it.
So, under what law was the referendum held? Russian law or Ukrainian law? Simple question.
The referendum, as Western countries said, doesn't require legality. It's the will of the people.
Can you find that anywhere? A referendum doesn't require legality. It's the will of the people.
You know, you can find that yourself.
No, myself. I looked. I couldn't find that phrase anywhere.
Let's.
Andre, you just wait, Andre. A referendum is a procedure in accordance with the law, through which the will of the people is carried out, not just the will of some people who went out into the street, grabbed trash bins, scraps of paper, candy wrappers, wrote something and read, "House of so-and-so." So, in your opinion, that's also the will of the people? And still, Andre, I would like to ask you, because you're not the first one to talk about a referendum, about the will of the people, and to quote that phrase you just mentioned. Please, is it possible for you to find that phrase and read out where it's from? Is it from a court decision, the UN? Did the Security Council write it down, or the General Assembly? Can you find it? Can you try? No, Andre.
Are you muting me or what?
But you're interrupting me, Andre.
Well, how am I supposed to talk to you if you mute me? You don't even want me to say anything.
I'm listening to you. I only muted you when I start talking, and see that you start talking at the same time as me. Can you, Andre, somehow?
When I'm saying something.
I'm listening to you.
When I'm saying something.
I haven't missed a single thing you said, Andre. And so, the last thing I ask of you.
When I'm saying something.
Yes, I'm listening.
When I'm saying something, you interrupt with remarks. When you speak, mute yourself. Is that fair?
It's very unfair. That doesn't matter. Yes, that's just my style. Very sneaky. Can you find that phrase you said, that a referendum is the will of the people?
So, here we are. You see, I think, you're probably a blogger. That's what you do.
Of course, I'm a blogger.
You're probably joking with me or something.
Of course. Andre, I'm going to interrupt you, Andre. Can you find that phrase? I want to see that phrase with my own eyes. Please find.
I can't. I don't have such an opportunity.
There is no such possibility.
Can I ask this question again? Look, we discussed America. We discussed who was right and who was wrong. Right in Crimea, wrong in Crimea.
No, I met you halfway, Andre. You are wrong.
Wait a second. Are you asking me about some kind of legality in Crimea?
Yeah.
Did Crimea do something wrong? This is what I'm hearing from someone whose government came to power illegally. Where's the logic, guys?
Look, I'll answer you, Andre. And if you interrupt, I won't even bother muting you. I'll just keep on with my sentence. If you, Andre, are a specialist in Ukrainian constitutional law, then again, I would ask you to find some evidence that there was some kind of unconstitutional coup here. That's nothing more than your opinion. And I would like your opinion, Andre, to be based on some kind of legislation. If you are, perhaps, a specialist in Ukrainian constitutional law, I would like to hear from you where, when, and which article of the Constitution was violated. I'm listening, Andre.
The first thing I wanted to say is when the ATO, the anti-terrorist operation, was introduced.
April 14.
That was a completely illegal decision.
April 14.
It was an illegal decision for one reason, because there wasn't a single terrorist act, not a single criminal case for terrorism. An anti-terrorist operation was launched illegally. Secondly, the anti-terrorist operation.
On what ground? Which article, Andre? Which article? Which law was violated? Andre, understand, your opinion is very valuable to us. But for your opinion, Andre, it would be good to back it up with an article. Which article of the Constitution of Ukraine or Ukrainian law was violated? Will there be an answer to this question?
An anti-terrorist operation is not carried out by the regular army.
Where is that written? In which article of which law, Andre?
Well, you see, smart people who are watching you right now.
No, that's just your opinion.
This isn't a matter for the police. It's a matter for the National Guard, or maybe some other.
We don't have a National Guard, Andre. Andre, please, let's make sure your opinion is based on some legislation, not just your own opinion. Where is it written that an anti-terrorist operation? No, you really don't need to ask me anything at all. Andre, please, which article of which law was violated, and where, please? I can even, well, find that article if you don't have the opportunity, but it's unlikely you remember it by heart, right?
Please, find me the article, please. I would really like that for myself. If you convince me, I'll say that I'm grateful.
Yes, I'm listening to you.
Find me the article on what basis Turchinov came to power.
On what basis?
How can a president remove himself from office?
On what basis?
How can Yanukovych have been removed from office? The article is something like 10, 11, 12, 15.
Let me explain to you. Let me explain. If you're not a specialist in this matter, though I don't consider myself a constitutional law expert either. The Verkhovna Rada of Ukraine is the sole legislative body of Ukraine. And the Verkhovna Rada has the right to pass laws and resolutions. After the President of Ukraine, vested with the powers of the President of Ukraine, signed the agreement with the opposition, this agreement had to be voted on in the Verkhovna Rada of Ukraine, and it was voted on, and the President was supposed to come and sign it. At the appropriate time, the President was not at his workplace. The Verkhovna Rada issued a resolution stating that President Yanukovych had abandoned his authority. He did not come. He did not sign the corresponding law. The Verkhovna Rada has every legal right to do this. And furthermore, if you are a specialist in constitutional law, it's clearly written that any law or resolution of the Verkhovna Rada remains in effect until the Constitutional Court makes a decision that overturns the decision of the Verkhovna Rada. The Constitutional Court did not make a contrary decision. Accord? What? It was. And the composition of the Constitutional Court hadn't changed for quite a long time. And Yanukovych had.
I understand, but...
Let me finish, Andre. Why are you interrupting me? And Yanukovych had every right to appeal to the Constitutional Court. No one stripped him of the powers of the President of Ukraine, because according to the Constitution of Ukraine, the powers of the President end only after the next President takes the oath. Yanukovych's presidential powers ended on the day when Poroshenko became President of Ukraine. And before that, he had every right to go to court and resolve the matter in his favor. But Yanukovych chose to flee to the territory of the Russian Federation. Therefore, the decision of the Verkhovna Rada, whether it was a law or a resolution, is constitutional until the Constitutional Court decides otherwise, which the Constitutional Court did not do. So, there were no violations of the Constitution. Because, first of all, you are not a specialist in constitutional law, and it's not for you to judge whether it was legal or illegal. This is exactly how Ukrainian legislation works. I finished. Andre, do you have any other questions?
I think you work for the minority for the majority. Of course, yes. Because fewer people can easily ask you the question, where in the Constitution of Ukraine does it say the president must remove himself? Where is it written that he can remove himself?
It is not written in the Constitution. And let me remind you that the Constitution is a legislative act where every word has a precise meaning, a precise definition. And if in the Constitution, where the word self-removal is written, well, there is no such word, For example, then the Verkhovna.
And is there such a thing about the president?
Then the Verkhovna Rada of Ukraine adopts the corresponding law or resolution, which is considered constitutional until it is overturned by the Constitutional Court. That's how Ukrainian legislation actually works. Whether you like it or not, whether you think it's right or wrong, that's your opinion. But this is how it works. There was no decision from the Constitutional Court. Accordingly, as of today, the decision is legal and in line with the Constitution because only the Constitutional Court of Ukraine, according to Ukrainian law, determines the legality of decisions made by the Verkhovna Rada, the Cabinet of Ministers, and the President of Ukraine. Only it makes the determination, and no one else. Your attitude toward this can be whatever it is. I have nothing against your opinion, but you do not have the right to decide anything in place of the Constitutional Court. Well, that's how it is. I'm listening to you, Andrei.
You said it right, whether you like it or not. That's my opinion. That's the point.
Yes, absolutely right. That's your opinion. But again, look, any opinion should be backed up with arguments. I tried to get some arguments from you, Andrei. I didn't hear any. It stayed at the level of just an opinion. And at that level, I guess that's where it will stay. Absolutely right, right?
On the level of opinions,
Excellent. Excellent. I was just showing you that my opinion is sometimes supported by arguments, sometimes maybe not, but your opinion didn't have a single argument behind it. It has a right to exist. I'm not against it.
I wasn't trying to change your mind.
And I wasn't trying either. And Andrei, I also wasn't trying to change your mind. I was just showing you that you have your opinion. I have my opinion. For my opinion, I tried to provide arguments where I thought it was necessary. For your opinion, I didn't hear a single argument, but that was totally fine with me. Do you have any more questions for me, Andrei?
Tell me, please, if you could turn everything back, and now the question was, Ukraine is developing, growing, moving forward, and it doesn't matter by what means. It's thriving as a neutral country. Or joining NATO, and you knew what would happen next. What would you choose?
I would choose Ukraine as a member of NATO and the European Union for one simple reason. It was precisely the aggression of the Russian Federation, which began on February 20th, 2014, on the very day when Yanukovych was still president. Regardless of whether Russian presidents like Ukrainian presidents or not, you still attack Ukraine, violating both international law, treating it with utter disregard, and your own domestic laws as well. You absolutely don't care about it at all. You would have attacked Ukraine anyway, no matter what kind of country it was. That's why I see Ukraine as a member of the European Union and NATO, because on our own, we can't defend ourselves against such a wild, uncivilized country where the majority of the population disregards both domestic and international law and supports their state's aggressive war against its neighbor. Of course, we need NATO and the European Union. We absolutely cannot stand up to such a country on our own. And we have to stand up to this country, because you attacked us even back when Ukraine was led by the pro-Russian president Yanukovych. Do you have any more questions for me, Andrei?
So, you would have chosen war with Russia no matter what, right? Well, you know.
We didn't start this war, Andrei, and I didn't begin our conversation for nothing. What were the reasons that pushed Russia to attack us, and to attack us even back when the president was the pro-Russian Yanukovych? You attacked us anyway. And you're trying to shift the blame from Russia as the occupying, aggressor country onto the victim of aggression. And at that time, the victim of aggression was led by a pro-Russian president, not the anti-Russian Poroshenko, not the anti-Russian Yushchenko, but the pro-Russian Yanukovych. Nothing more than that. Any other questions?
Please tell me. I want to talk about occupation, but in a way that I can really understand this term. Well, so.
Does Wikipedia work for you, Andre? Is Wikipedia acceptable as a definition? Just to clarify.
No, I just mean, look, you said, for example, that Crimea is an occupation.
Of course, it's not just me saying that. The OSCE Parliamentary Assembly says so as well.
But look, what happened is that in Kiev in 2014, people with their own ideology came to power. They changed the country's history. They changed its traditions, you see, with all that language nonsense. In Crimea, that's not occupation. And in Crimea, there are 3 national languages. They didn't change the faith or the traditions or anything. They made 3 national languages, you see. They kept the same history. That's it. Well, the state programs are working.
Let me answer your question, dear Andre. Occupation, let me read to you. In general, it is the seizure by the armed forces of a state of territory that does not belong to it. The state of Russia, as a state, seized territory belonging to another state. Do you understand? Some kind of coup in Kiev, for example, however you assess that event and so on, is not called an occupation. What happened in Crimea when the armed forces of the Russian Federation seized part of another country's territory? That's what is called occupation. If you're confused by the terminology, Andre, and it happens, I often get confused by terminology myself. I take a dictionary and read it. I don't express my personal opinion about what occupation is. In my view, I take a dictionary and read it. So, no armed coups in Kiev are called occupation. And then your manipulations about the languages in Crimea, that there are supposedly 3 official languages there. That's just pure manipulation. Because in Crimea, despite having 3 official languages, there isn't a single school left where teaching is conducted in Ukrainian. At the same time, in Ukraine, there are still schools to this day where teaching is conducted in Russian. These schools exist in those enclaves where the majority of residents are ethnic Russians, not so-called Russian-speaking Ukrainians. I'm going to turn the sound on for you now, because while I was answering, you kept interrupting me, Andre. I've answered your question. If you have any more questions, sorry, Andre, I'd be happy to answer them.
I've already told you, when people come with their own ideology and change a country's traditions, history, and faith, that's occupation, you see? And there.
No, Andre, I don't understand. That's your personal opinion, which is based on a complete lack of understanding of the terminology. That's typical of all Russians I talk to. A Russian comes here and starts telling me that, in their opinion, I should call black white, that it's just my personal opinion. And when I ask, do you have any argument for calling black white? The Russian says, no, it's white because I want it to be. And that's my opinion. I read you the definition of the term occupation. You're getting confused with the terms, and for some reason you're presenting your confusion as a personal opinion. That's not your personal opinion, it's just a mistake. Please get your terminology straight. And don't manipulate the issue any further, because I'll write down your next question on paper and show exactly where the manipulation is in your question, plain and simple.
Well, we're just having a conversation, and you can tell me if that's not the case. Why do you call it manipulation? Manipulation is when I manipulate people, but we're just talking here. You can influence me too, Andre. I'm just a person like you. And you're trying to manipulate me by expressing your personal opinion, which is based on A, not knowing the terminology, B, a subjective perception of the world, C, your personal attitude toward events, where you can't really figure things out at all. How is it that I can't figure things out? I figured it out for myself. I can't figure it out for you.
I've clearly shown you that your understanding of occupation is mistaken. You misunderstand the term occupation. And that's it. I showed it.
I misunderstand. That's how I perceive it.
Amazing. Any other questions?
Please tell me what is the difference between a traitor and a cheater?
No idea. Are you satisfied with this answer?
Well, of course, naturally.
See how good it is. And I was completely satisfied with your answers. If you have any more questions, I'm ready to answer.